just a little video series that I'm doing for you on some kicking techniques, and you know, don't hurt yourself with it, but some basic techniques we're going to be running through, some warm-ups, a little bit of stretching, which is very difficult to do or difficult to show at the camera angles that I can do, but I'll pretty much explain them as we go along, and you know, have some fun with it, enjoy it, and here we go. Okay, let's start off with a little bit of warming up. So, easiest way to warm up is to just try to get something that gets the heart pumping a little bit, gets a bit of blood flow, so you can, you know, start off with a little bit of just working on the spot, just switching from side to side, kind of switching your stance. And all I'm doing in this one is I'm going from a guard that goes one way to a guard that goes the other way and back. That sort of thing, running on the spot, all that sort of stuff is very good to sort of warm your body up. In terms of your legs, some good things to do is to just start them off getting used to moving in your various sort of range of motion. So for example, I can take my left leg back and I'm going to do what essentially is called a front rise kick. So you're just coming up and putting the foot back down again. So you just raise and back. Now the way I used to do this when I used to train was I'd kick and then bring the arms to the side after completing. So up and down, up and down, up and down. And then you can do the same thing on the opposite side, up and down, up and down. And you're not kicking hard. All you're doing is you're raising your leg up, bring it back down again. In terms of the side, a little bit harder because everyone has, or most people have, less flexibility in the side of the hips, myself included. So you just raise up to the side and come down. It's worth looking where you're going as well. So up and down, up and down, up and down. You can lean a little bit, it helps. And the same thing the other way. So up and down, up and down, up and down. A couple of things that's worth bearing in mind with the side, and this will translate into doing side kicks and turning kicks as well. Your base foot wants to turn as your kicking foot goes into the final position. So if I could close up on my feet, I would do on this. The basic idea is that you raise your kicking leg and your pivoting leg, that's the important word, pivoting, is at 90 degrees to where you're kicking. As you kick, you pivot on the ball of your foot, of your pivoting leg, till the heel points roughly in the direction that you're going to go. So you're not trying to kick without pivoting. You pivot as you kick. And you'll notice a big difference in what happens with your kick if you do that. You can actually do the same thing with the front kick, but for the rise kick you don't really need to do it because they're both pointing in the same direction anyway. But when you do a front snap kick, you can pivot so that you go from both feet pointing forwards to your support foot going at 90 degrees. And I'm going to try and figure out a way to do some foot close-ups cut into the video so that you can see what's happening with that. So yes, so just do some front switching legs. It's good exercise anyway. moves the longest and strongest part of your body, which gets your breath going anyhow. And then sideways, as we say, 1, 2. You're just kind of lifting it up. A good one, which I like a lot, is a thing called a crescent kick. And what you're doing is you're going to bring your back leg, again in this case I'm using my left, around in an arc and back to its starting point. So you come around and back, around and back. Same thing on the opposite side, right leg back, comes around and back, around and back. Okay, so that's the warming up bit done. We'll have a little bit of a look at the stretching part next. Okay, so this is the little cutscene video. You can see here, this is for the foot movement. You can see here that I've got my feet at 90 degrees. So if we were starting for the side rise kick, and I was going to kick with my left foot is going to go sideways that way. What you want to do with your supporting, your pivoting foot, is as you raise up, you turn your pivoting foot. And the same thing would apply the opposite way. So as you're going to go out this way, we're going to turn the pivot in that sort of way. You can, the 90-degree angle I was showing at the beginning is the position you would be in with your front kick. You go again from both parallel. As you come forwards, you turn your pivoting leg. As I say, you don't really need to do it so much for the front, although with front snap kicks and push kicks, it really does help because it helps to get your hips involved in a more thrusting manner. Okay, what we have now are some basic kicks, and I'm going to start with probably the most basic kick that you would learn, which is the front kick, Abchagi. And here we're looking at the snap version, so we're looking at the front snap kick rather than Abchagi, which is the front thrusting kick. Same thing really. Take your, what you'll know from your sabering is fighting stance. We would call this probably Nihonjosogi, L stance, and it has your back leg at 90 degrees to your front leg. The weight is mostly on your back leg. I've got my hands up in a guarding position. All you're going to do leg-wise is you're going to, we'll start with front leg, front snap kick, because that's possibly easiest to explain. You're just going to lift your knee up, kick out and put it back down again. So knee up. You basically want to get your knee as high as you can. From there, snap, bring it back down, and then put it down on the ground. It's kind of hard to explain and do at the same time, but it's basically up, snap, back down, up, snap, back down. Again, you're just bringing the leg up, bring it out, and bring it back. So we go 1, switch to the opposite stance, 2, switch stance again, 3. That's your basic technique. Now what you're aiming to do with the front snap kick, in terms of what you're hitting with, you're using the top of your foot. So this is a really good one for, shall we say, hitting people where it hurts, if you can imagine what I mean by that, sort of the groin area. So you come up, boom, and you've got that sort of thing. Now, a good exercise with this one is actually to use a chair, because it helps with your balance. So you can balance, kick, and keep your leg up. So balance, kick, leg up. You can do it without the chair as your balance improves, but the chair is very, very useful for that. And the same is true with all of the different kicks that you want to do. The chair just helps you to kind of keep your footing, as it were. I do find with these kicks the 90-degree angle is a big help, and that is where you're starting in your stance anyway. So it's a useful thing. Now, something else we used to do a lot of was a thing called line work, and that is basically going up and down, doing your techniques. We would do them for blocking and for punching as well, but as we're really talking about kicking, you start off in your stance. Now the thing is, if you want to move, you've got to bring your back leg through. Now if you've not been doing this already, this is very useful in your sabering as well, because you're practicing moving forwards, backwards, just switching your stance in that sort of way. You're doing a similar thing with the kick. So you take your fighting stance, kick, land forwards, kick, land forwards, forwards. It's harder to go backwards, but you would kick, put the foot behind, kick, foot behind. Again, don't worry so much about the height. Certainly at my age and flexibility I don't. But just look to get a good technique, knee up high, kick out and back. Okay, next time we'll be looking at side kick. Okay, so this time, side kick. This is more difficult in so much that you're mainly dealing with flexibility issues and stretching, which is something I'm actually going to have a look at the end, is something that's going to be really, really useful to you to develop the ability to do your side kicks. If you're naturally very flexible, then you're very lucky. My younger brother is extremely flexible naturally, and that really does help. We're going to start in the same kind of way as we were doing from the front kick, guard position, but the mechanics are slightly different. Here, as we thrust the kick towards camera, the pivoting leg, the back leg, really is going to have to come around. So if you look at the little segment that I did for the rising kicks, it's the exact same idea. As we thrust this time rather than lifting, as we thrust the leg, which is very similar in a way to the front kick, you lift the leg up in a sideways chamber position, thrust it towards and then down. As you thrust it out, your back leg is going to pivot on the ball of your foot, and you can either keep it up on the ball of the foot as the kick extends, or you can actually drop the heel down once you are there. So you can come up in that sort of way, or you can sort of keep the foot up. The heel raising up, people usually say, helps a little with speed, but having the heel planted helps with stability. So it's a little bit of a halfway trade-off. Now again, this is a technique that we can do as a sort of an on-the-spot kind of thing. We can switch stance. Same kind of idea. Or you can work on moving little think forwards and backwards. Little points to bear in mind with this is as you chamber up, kind of bring your kicking foot kind of close to your opposite knee. So it's as if I was doing the front kick that way, but I come to here and I kick out that way. It's a little thing that's worth bearing in mind when you do these. But same thing again, if you want to move forwards and backwards, you have to go from having the kicking foot at the back, bring it around, kick, down, bring around, kick, down, in that sort of way. You can cover quite a lot of distance doing that. There are other variants as well. There are other variants on all of the kicks. These are, in a sense, the very, very basic ones. But I mean, something like this, if you're familiar with your cross step, for example, when you're sabering, and you're either crossing in front or you're crossing behind, there's a thing called a step through side kick, and you literally start, you cross through and kick. So it's kind of, it's a little hard to control the ending on that one, but it's a kind of a big step through thrusting motion. A really good example of that would be in Enter the Dragon. Bruce Lee does one of these to somebody holding a giant kick pad in Han's fortress, and he steps right through, bang, and pushes the kick straight through and knocks the guy completely off his feet. It's a very slow kick, but it is a very powerful one. A sort of a halfway house is kind of a pivot, where you're literally just bringing the back leg up to the front leg. You're kind of skipping up and then back down again. Okay, next one we'll be looking at is turning kick. Okay, now we're going to look at the turning kick, and this has some similarities to the side kick and one or two similarities to the front kick. Here we are going to be kicking from the side and coming around in an arc, passing the target. You're aiming to kick through your target, and that is true of all of your kicks. They don't kick to the target, they kick past it. So if you're doing a front kick, you aim to come not right to the target, but go through. If you're doing a side kick, instead of coming to your target, you extend your leg to its fullest past your target. With turning kick, instead of just touching, you're coming through. Chamber position is a little different to the side kick. The side kick comes up here as if I was front kicking this way. The turning kick comes with the foot behind here, and then we extend the leg around and cross. Still pivoting on the back leg in the same way as with the side kicks. As you swing the leg around, as you push the leg around more accurately, you turn your back foot. Same thing on the opposite side. So you aim to kick through. Now once again, this is a kick that you can move up and down with. There's a couple of ways of doing it. If you want to look at it this way, all the exercises we've done, a more Makashi approach, is to keep your body in a line and kick, but try to advance as you kick. So you could do that, and I'm going to do a little short section at the end on the two different ways of advancing. But you could do kick, kick, in that sort of way. Or, as we've been doing all the way through this video so far, from the back, chamber up, kick put down in front. That sort of approach. As always with any of this, if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, next time we'll be looking at hook kick. Okay, my final kick that I'm going to cover before I cover some movement and some stretching is the hook kick. Now, taking a side stance once again. Here we are combining two chamber positions, but this time we're doing one at the beginning and we're doing one at the end. At the beginning, we're looking at chambering like a side kick. We're going to aim out to deliberately miss our target, come by pulling the leg in, come through and land in our turning kick chamber position. So very slowly, comes up, comes around and lands in turning kick position. Once again, up, around and the opposite position. A little faster in that sort of way. And once again, this can be done moving forwards and backwards. So we're going one, put it down in front, come around, hook the other way. So 1, 2, that kind of thing. Again, covers quite a lot of distance. One more time. So let's see if we can do this from the back. So from here, come around, hook, down, come around, down. Very easy to get off balance with that kick, and a bit noisy overhead, so do forgive that. But that's basically the hook kick. What you're doing is you are hitting, again, through your target, this time with the bottom of the foot, either the heel, or if you're trying to extend, you can use the ball of your foot. Quite a useful kick, and one that is very good for giving your opponent a bit of a surprise, because they kind of, as you bring your leg up, they expect the kick to come straight through, and then it comes round. So, as always, use the chair for balance. Useful kick to have a bit of a go at. Next section, we'll be looking at advancing using our kicks. Okay, penultimate section, we're looking at advancing. Retreating can also work in this way as well a little bit. Advancing is slightly easier. Our normal advance, if we go back to the front kick, is to go from the back leg, come up, kick, and put it in front. Always also backwards. As I said before, a more Makashi approach would be to skip up and kick. So you skip up into your chamber position, kick forwards. Which does give you the beginnings of your step up front kick. But going backwards with that kind of thing is a lot harder. So either keep everything in line, skip up, kick, or come through from the back, kick, and drop down. Coming backwards, you would have to pull back and kick. It's a little bit harder. It's almost a hook slide in reverse. So you slide back and kick. You just give yourself a little bit of room. You could even do it as a little bit of a jump backwards, but that just, it's harder to pull off. But if you create the space, and then as you pull your front leg, kick and then put it down, it's quite a useful little defensive move. Okay, So, final section, stretching. And here, having had a good workout, half an hour or so, simple things you can do to stretch. Use your stances. This is a great point to be using your stances. Your front stance, hopefully you can see this. This is as if you've done your side strike, and just stretch towards your front knee, keeping the knees over the toe, don't let them pass. Locking your back leg, your back foot at 45 degrees. You can do it at 90, but that changes the position of your hips, as you can see. 90, 45. And it's useful to do that actually from this position. You could actually practice switching. Front stance one way, front stance the other way, same idea. You can do your back stance, your kind of guard position here. We call this L stance, but for stretching purposes, make it quite a low one. So really push out on your back leg, 45 degrees. Most of your weight is still on the back, and obviously with that one again, you can switch from side to side in that sort of way. Another good one is your side split position, which I wouldn't have room to do even if I could do it. You're basically keeping your feet parallel, legs straight. A good way to start this is body up in this sort of way, and then slowly lean it forward so you can touch the ground in that sort of position. There's a few other good ones which I'm not sure we'll get on the camera, but I will try. If you take your wide position parallel, and then if you turn, sort of angle to one side, bend your knee, it's worth supporting yourself for this, and point your toes up. So you're on one leg, really bent, and you are pointing your toes up at the other leg, and then do the same thing, opposite side. That sort of thing is quite useful for developing your flexibility. You can do a lot of exercises sat down as well. Legs spread out, trying to reach to one foot, reach to the other foot. It's a good idea to stretch before you kick. It's also a very good idea to stretch after you kick, because obviously you've been very warmed up, and it's a good way of stretching things out, and then you can just loosen things out a little bit, and you're done pretty much. Okay, so hope you've enjoyed this video, and there's a little bit of a look at some very basic kicking techniques, which I do have to point out, it's been a while since I've done them, but it's kind of got me back into it, so I do thank you for that. And remember, go to your own flexibility, go at your own speed, be careful about what you do and how you do it slowly. When you're doing the kicks, do them slow, trying not to use too much power. If you just throw your legs, you really can injure yourself, and I know that there's a great temptation, as there is with sabering, to really, have at it and go for it. It's better to do your kick slow and control it than try and throw your leg really, really fast and end up injuring yourself. So go to your own height, go at your own speed, take it slowly, have fun with it, get very sweaty with it as well, and really worthwhile wearing some very, very loose clothing for this. No jeans. And have fun with it. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a message, or have a chat about it. I'll see what I can do to help out. Once you've got these down, we can start looking at some of the more advanced things like your spinning kicks. And some of those can be fun, but you need room. There's also another rather cool one, which is a 180, which I'm sure you'll like. But for the moment, have some fun with it, and I'll see you next time.